Good afternoon. Absolute pleasure to be here. So for about the last 14 years, my passion has been all around human relationships. And specifically, I'm fascinated about what makes relationships work and kind of why do they break down. And I'm very fortunate that currently I'm working with 7 different senior executive teams around the UK where they allow me to be their chief relationship officer. And I make it my absolute goal to try and encourage them to put relationship at the absolute heart of their strategy for success. And I'm going to make a big claim. And my first big claim is kind of here. It's a bold claim. Has anybody ever heard that really overused phrase, your people are your greatest asset? And where you have a bit of a kind of gagging moment now when you hear it because it's been so overused, right? Well, I disagree. I don't think your people are your greatest asset. But I'd say one of your definitely your greatest assets is actually the greatest asset potentially is the quality of the relationships between your people. And it's kind of interesting because what was the name of the Spanish? Was the chap Spanish or Italian who spoke earlier in the day? Colombian, sorry, Colombian. What was his name? Alvaro. And he was talking about sort of in this world just how much email and email communication and all those kind of bits and pieces. And yet, I'm sure in your organisations, the future of your organisation is your ability for your people to work across functions and to be able to integrate, do services differently. And all of that requires high-quality relationships. In fact, I've got a question. Could you just find somebody to sit next to or talk to, you know, backwards, whatever? Just a quick question for 30 seconds. Can you think of any organisational goal or significant challenge that wouldn't be improved by having strong, high-trust relationships? Just 30 seconds. See if you can come up with one. Spin around, talk to the person behind you. Okay, time's up. Time's up. Look, I've got 40 minutes, right? Okay, this is like, you know, it's a short amount of time. So, did anybody come up with one? Yes. What was it?
I don't think I should share it in this order.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But would you say almost everything is speeded up, improved? And do you know when I said, you know, has anybody here worked in a team with really, really high trust, strong relationships? Yeah, you've had that experience. Productivity of that team? Amazing. Yeah? Get a lot done? In fact, even go outside the team. Is there anybody currently in your organisation at the moment that you have a high quality relationship with? You'd hope so. How do the meetings go with those people? Do you often get more done than you even expected? By the way, has anybody worked in a team where it was a bit dysfunctional? No. And you know, even if it's a talented team, it can still underperform. So one of the things, though, I would like to say is in 15 odd years of, I must have read every book under the sun around difficult conversations, listening. I believe who's the gentleman from Samaritans? Is he still here? Not sure if he's still here yet. I was a Samaritan for 2 years, and there was an immense amount of training for something like that. And given all of that, I would still say that the key determining factor around developing strong relationships isn't learning more and more behavioural stuff and skills. It's the mindset that you have towards other people. So we're going to look at mindset today, and actually I feel incredibly fortunate. I'm the kind of, the other part of my job is I'm the UK kind of CEO for the Arbinger Institute here in the UK. So we have the license for it over here. Has anybody come across anybody at all read Leadership and Self-Deception? No, it's funny. It's 2 million copies have sold, but obviously none of you guys have kind of read that one, right? So, but today I want to focus in. These guys have been kind of leaders in mindset change for about 24, 25 years. And it actually comes from the work of Terry Warner, who was a Harvard, Yale, and Oxford professor in his seminal work on self-deception. And self-deception is the problem of not realizing that one is the problem. And they kind of took that work. By the way, does anybody here work with somebody who clearly is the problem? By the way, when you point out to them that they're clearly the problem, how do they usually react? Do they go, yeah, I am the problem? Right. So, and where this has all gone is and what I really want to talk to you about today is about this concept of mindset, and very specifically an outward mindset. By the way, has anybody here read about, from a lady called Dweck, about the, it's another topic, isn't it? The growth mindset. Okay, if at any point you want to ask me questions about whether those two fit together, happy to take that. But, you know, for the moment, we're going to focus on the kind of outward mindset. So what we're going to do, why is mindset critical to your organization's success? Why should it be really right up there as part of one of your key strategic imperatives? We're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to do a bit of research. I'm going to get you out of your chairs, and we're going to do an impromptu study of actually where your organization is. Is it inward? Is it outward? Whereabouts it is on that scale? And then finally, we're going to look at how mindset impacts relationships and results. Does that sound okay? Cool, cool. So, is everybody okay that if you take... Oh, by the way, you've got these handouts, and you can add notes to them if you wish, or if that doesn't work for you, that's absolutely fine. So, any organization in this world is currently getting its current results. And you can kind of see that these things like the things that kind of make this up are the mindset, the behaviors that people are doing, structures, processes, technology, KPIs, all those are delivering results. And guess what? In this world of constant change, your organization or another organization says, gosh, because of regulation, because of technology, because of new entrants to the market, we need new results. Now, as L&D professionals, I'd like you to answer this question. When your executive team meet and they go, we've got to change, we've got to do something new. Of this list up here, which ones do you think your classic group of executives on a senior executive team are more comfortable talking about? KPIs. Sorry? KPIs, processes, the technology we need. Maybe they get quite excited about how they're going to restructure the company, yeah? If you're lucky, might they talk about behavior? A bit. Now, some will, some won't. They might go, yeah, we need to have positive, you know, behaviors and all that, right? So, this is what tends to happen. The typical approach is people start putting in place processes, technology, structures, KPIs. Just out of interest, if it's a significant change, how much is that going to be roughly in money? Thousands? Millions. It's going to be millions and millions of pounds potentially to make if it's a decent sized change. Can anybody see why the change that they're investing in might not reap the rewards? What would be your concern? Right, they're doing, or they may be going after trying new, but the old mindset's there. And the danger is, what can happen, is the whole thing gets kind of dragged back. In fact, the worst scenario possible is you don't get the new desired results, you don't even go back to the old way, you end up in some kind of halfway house that's really, really unhelpful. So actually, although the prevailing mindset stuff doesn't sound like a big issue, it can be a massive issue if you need a change in mindset to make this happen. McKinsey's study in 2015, organizations that identify and address pervasive mindsets at the outset are 4 times more likely to succeed in organizational change efforts. And if anybody's interested, I can email you the study and all that kind of stuff. So how do we get there as an organization? Well, I think by first looking at that underlying key mindset. So we might look at what's the required mindset, and then we do that kind of shift over there. So when I work with an organization, one of the things that we like to do is we like to try and see where that organization is on the mindset continuum. And really there's kind of, in a way, there's kind of two ends of a spectrum here. Now, pretty much everybody, you're all from L&D, or in some ways. Now, this kind of scares me, because I'm about to show you like the Model 101, and you'll probably think, oh God, this guy's just going to do old stuff, right? But does anybody remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay, it's the 101, isn't it, of all management training. So I do apologise for that. But it's really important for me to just quickly describe it. Is everybody okay with this? The bottom is that survival zone. And the survival zone is things like shelter, food, Wi-Fi, you know, the kind of modern day stuff, right? But also, we're all kind of deeply trying to move towards recognition, relationships, and achievement. Now, human beings on a spectrum, would everybody agree that at one end of the spectrum, people can be really quite selfish? Yeah, we have a propensity to be selfish. And in fact, if you talk to evolutionary psychologists, they will tell you about actually our core DNA is about self-protection and kind of being more kind of self-advancing. At the other end of the spectrum, has anybody watched DIY SOS? Okay, where they go into somebody's house and they've had cancer or a major incident, and 60 people from the local community rebuild their house in a week. Yeah. So it is also fair to say that as human beings, we have a real ability to also collaborate. But given the pressures of targets, the pressures and challenges that we face, any thoughts on which is the one that we probably gravitate more easily to? It's over here, isn't it? And it's kind of natural. So here's the thing, right? If you're an organisation and you're up for collaboration and you want this kind of more connected, outward mindset, we're going to have to work at it. And it's incredibly challenging. Because 2,000 years ago, survival was all about stabbing a saber-toothed tiger with a spear. But now, fortunately, we don't have to protect ourselves from wild animals. In the corporate world, what is it now? It's not the physical, it's the psychological. It's the not meeting my... What's your name, sir?
David.
So it's David's objectives in his team clashing badly with mine, making me look incompetent. I'm not going to hit my bonus, and I'd like to kill you, but it's not appropriate, right? Okay, so... Right, yeah, works for you, works for you. So there's an enormous amount of things. Here's another one. When I work with an exec team, and they're really struggling, one of the most challenging things for them to admit to is they don't know what to do. And I'll tell you why it's challenging for them. Their job description says they should know what to do. Their pay packet says they should know what to do. But they don't know what to do. And do they go up here and start asking for help? No. They freak out and go into mass control. I have to tell you, when I work with an exec team, and I can get them round the table to say, with this issue, we don't know what to do, it's a seminal moment. Because does not knowing what to do mean you'll never know what to do? No. But I tell you what, how many of your execs are going round needing to be seen as knowing what to do when perhaps they don't know what to do? Now, in my experience, when I get them into that space, the flip charts then come out, and then we start actually creating the solutions. So let me explain this. So does that kind of make sense, that there's a natural propensity to move more towards survival? It's just very normal. Now, if I relate this to an organisation, in this inward mindset, what happens is you start getting people who do behaviours that are self-advancing. So if I'm the leader of the team, I try and grab the resources. I try and make my team look better than other teams. Or I have very little interest in the impact that I might be having on other teams. But you know what? There's also another group of people that come to work. And do you know what? They're not into self-advancement. If anything, they're just into doing a good day's job, you know, good day's work. But unfortunately, they're kind of, have you met these people kind of head down, swimming in their own lane? You know, head down, I've got my job, I do my thing, and again, very little awareness around their impact on others. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, in an organisation where the leaders and the employees are very outward mindset, they've still got their own objectives, but they're very, very interested They're very, very, if you like, their mindset is focused as well on how they might impact others. In the perfect scenario, they're all invested in everybody else's success, going after the collective goal. Now, that doesn't mean they become robots. Sorry, that's another good moment with the sun. We're not talking about robots here, but we're talking about people who fundamentally care about their impact. In fact, let me ask you, think about the best boss you ever had. Did they care about your potential? Did they care about growing you? You know, these are the people that we will climb mountains for. These are the people we'll run through walls for. The people who actually demonstrate to us that actually they're thinking beyond themselves. Now, if we take this up a level, imagine we've now got a kind of more an organisational view. The organisation on the left is very siloed. The people, by the way, can I ask you a question? Could everybody in these boxes on the left be working really hard? Could they be talented and working hard? But really on the far left, they only actually go and talk to other people either because policy forces them to, or they have to, or the final one would be they're willing to talk to other people over here because it's in whose interests? It's in their own. Anybody ever, I'm sure you may have worked for or come across organisations that could have been on this left-hand side. Okay. Now on the right-hand side, all these functional leaders, or all these teams, yes, they've got their own objectives, but they're very, very interested in the pressures and challenges. So for instance, sorry, can I grab your name? Caroline. So if I was operating from this outward mindset, my team would be actively interested, providing we work together, there was a link about your pressures and challenges and how we might align our objectives. And in fact, taking it to its extreme, we might even swap resources if that got the job done. So how does this look? Let's take this down a level and look at it from a point of view of your leaders, the people that you are developing. If I'm a leader and I'm in the inward mindset, it's like others don't matter like I matter. And in this place, you can see here, if I have that mindset, these people are only there to serve who? To serve me, okay? And to that degree, one of the ways we say the three ways that people tend to end up being objectified. So while others have needs and objectives and challenges, we can just get to a place where we're really not that interested. Three ways that we end up objectifying people. One is I start to see them as vehicles. I see them as a means to an end. You know, I just mentioned it a few moments ago. You know those people that kind of schmooze you when they need you? Okay? But the other one is obstacle. When literally people's objectives start clashing into each other, we start actually seeing people as obstacles. By the way, if you've got something really important to achieve and somebody is an obstacle, or you're an obstacle, what might somebody do? Go over you? Go round you? CC in the world? Okay? And the final one is, have you ever had it where everybody just cut you out of the loop? They didn't involve you, they didn't share stuff with you. It's almost like you were an irrelevancy. Now, by the way, whenever we objectify another human being, they will resist, either passively or overtly. Probably the worst examples of this are in the Middle East right now. People feeling highly objectified will do all manner of things to make a point. So whenever, just if you kind of take this down, wherever your processes, systems, or leadership is inviting or creating where people are being objectified, you will be creating resistance in your organization. That will be slowing down your ability to deliver results or great customer service. Alternatively, in the outward mindset, as a leader, other people, I've got my own objectives, but I fundamentally care about the impact I'm having on other people's objectives. In fact, I really want to try and help them. When I was 16, I left school with one qualification. It was a CSE grade 5 in catering. And actually, you have to almost poison somebody to get that bad a score. I failed at everything else. And does anyone remember the youth training scheme? YTS. It was the only place for me, £27 a week. I was fired from my first job in an estate agency after 3 months for bad attitude. Okay. I then went to a place that sold fish and chip shops and businesses and hotels and all that kind of stuff. And after about 3 months, one of the partners there said, get rid of the kid, he's useless, he burns coffee, he's just rubbish, this kid. But there was a guy there called Roger Mundy, and he went, hang on, let me tuck him under my wing, let's see what I can do. And he gave me all kinds of things to do, most of which I did terribly badly. And then one day, he gave me the yellow pages. And he said, see all those pubs in Devon? I want you to ring them all in that part of Devon, and I want you to convince them to have a business valuation from us. Came back 3 hours later, I'd created 8 appointments. They hadn't had 8 appointments for months. He went, finally, we know what you're good at. You're gobby, right? This is your thing. He taught me how to read balance sheets, profit and loss, how to value businesses, how to negotiate. He even taught me how to deepen my voice so that these people who were buying £1 million pub wouldn't realise there was some snotty-nosed 18-year-old actually helping the deal go along. He even encouraged me, he said, Alec, you've got to get to night school, you've got to get A-levels, you can use the office at the weekends. Knowing full well that if I got them, what would happen? I went to Manchester, I did a business studies degree and a marketing degree. My life took off in ways I can never imagine. It was incredible. Now, 20-odd years later, I still speak to Roger 2 or 3 times a year. Have you ever had, you might have got where you are today in your career without somebody like that. I would have never got where I am today without 2 or 3 key people in my life. Now, by the way, would it be fair to say that Roger Mundy had his own objectives? Did he get some value from me? I sold a lot of businesses for him. But did he deeply care about my future? Are these the people we'll climb mountains for? We'll run through walls for these people. Has anybody ever had it where you've had a manager like that, a boss like that, where their behaviours were a bit rough diamond? Some of the things that they said were sometimes a bit, on the edge. But you knew they cared. Has anybody experienced the other one? The person who's been to INSEAD, Harvard, they've been on every course under the sun, they're polished, but you just can't help feeling that you're just a vehicle for their career. Now, of course, you still come to work, don't you, and you try and do a good job. But you don't do a good job for them. You just try and do a good job for the company. I genuinely believe if you did nothing else but develop the awareness of your leaders to just constantly think about their impact on others and to get people to see people as people, most of the behaviours you're looking for would just naturally come forward anyway. Is that okay? And in fact, by the way, how many of you have had somebody like that in your life? And as you think of them now, do some fond memories come back? They're just there. So here, I focus on my results. Here, I focus on our results. We live in a world that requires us to work together to achieve the things we need to achieve, but we also live in a world that's so high-paced, so full of email, so full of technology, it's getting harder and harder to have these relationships. We need to put a focus on it. So what happens when somebody gets into this inward mindset? What are some of the effects here? So I want to ask you a question here. What do you think the inward mindset invites in others? So, sorry, sir, what's your name? Wayne. I'm being very inward mindset to Wayne. What might it invite in Wayne? Same back. So eventually Wayne kind of starts to turn off from me and go, do you know what? I need to protect myself, or I've had enough. Can we do a little bit of music? Not music, sorry, volume. What am I talking about? I want to show you, do you remember Malcolm in the Middle? Yeah, this is a little clip from Malcolm in the Middle. Now this could have been 2 guys, 2 women, it really doesn't matter. But what I imagine is, this is in a shopping centre car park. And I'd like you to ask this question: why don't they stop? Nice and loud.
Excuse me. I know you didn't think anyone would catch at you, but you just slammed your door into my car. The least you can do is say you're sorry, lady. You don't have to take that tone. It's not like I'm hurting the resale value. I'm sorry. See? Like that.
Oh, it's Christmas time. Okay, we had to cut it off there because it gets a bit too kind of frantic. So, everybody, has anybody actually witnessed road rage? You know, where just people just, and they kind of get madder, you know. Question, why didn't they stop?
One of them had to win.
Sorry?
One of them had to win.
We just, you know, you can kind of see here, gone into survival, reptilian part of the brain's just kicking off like crazy. So one of them's got to win. Why, there's another reason though. The other person gave them what?
Well, they didn't go a graceful way out, actually.
They couldn't, you know, and maybe their brains were just not in a place to be able to do that. The other one is, for me, is they gave each other justification. It was just one, you know, it's kind of thinking about this way. I'll behave this way in order to justify you behaving that way, in order to justify me behaving this way. And you kind of see that cycle. By the way, if you were watching this in a shopping centre, what might you be thinking?
They're crazy.
They're just mad. They're just bonkers. So let's just see how this plays out in organisations. So I'd like you to, I'll give you a kind of scenario here. So we've talked about this before. So what I do is I blame. They see me as X and Y. Okay, that encourages them to blame me. I blame them, and we end up in something called a collusion. A collusion is where a conflict where the parties are inviting the very things that they're complaining about with a need to be justified. So let's use a real kind of life case example, or a sort of. Oh, by the way, sorry. Yeah, actually, we'll come on to this in a second. Just go. Oh no, I beg your pardon. There's a slide that's missing. So let's just take it to here. So I'd like to imagine. Sir, what's your name? Matt. Okay. I'm going to be here, and I'm an IT director. Okay. And Matt, you're going to be the finance director. Okay. And we've got some fairly big IT finance project to kind of do. And the behavior I do is the IT director is I keep saying to Matt, you can't have that software system it's not going to work, it doesn't fit with our architecture, you don't understand with what you're doing. Now, if I'm doing irritating behaviours, how might Matt start to see me? What words would he use for this overactive IT director? Hammering him with, it won't work, you can't have it, all that kind of stuff. How might he see me? What words might you use?
Obstructive, stubborn.
Obstructive, stubborn. Pain in the arse, thank you. Difficult. Not commercial, not thinking about the wider things of the organisation. So if that's how I see, if that's how Matt begins to see me, what kind of behaviours might we see back from Matt if he becomes inward?
Mirrored.
Kind of also being obstructive, not helping, not kind of, or maybe challenging me in meetings and those kind of things. How do I begin to see Matt? Ignorant to the fact of, you know, how challenging it is to put an IT system in, you know, those kind of things. So if I see him that way, what might I do back? If I see him as, you know, ignorant, not understanding IT, not understanding our pressures, could we see more of the same? Yeah. Now, it doesn't end there, though. As human beings, we have a high degree of need for certainty. Okay? So, if I'm over here, any thoughts about what I do when I go and have team meetings? Who do I talk about? The finance director. So, for instance, if you're part of my team, sorry, what's your name again, sir?
David.
David. So we've got still David. Sorry, beg your pardon. Still Caroline. Sorry, name's gone for a second. And you're part of my team. I start to go, hey, can you believe what Matthew's like? You know, those guys are just so unrealistic with what they're expecting from us. It'll just screw our architecture. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Totally. You know what those finance guys are like, right?
Yeah.
We call it recruiting. And we literally recruit people into our justified way of thinking. Now, if I do a great job on you, a really good job of sucking you in, then you can imagine what the meetings are like between that next level down, between IT and finance. Now, Matthew, you might be an awesome person and be kind of very Buddha-esque and just not go there.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
But alternatively, we might start seeing finance guys going, we call it going in the box. Okay? And now we've got two teams in the box. And of course, you can probably see what impact this might have on the delivery of that finance project or that IT project. Really quite significant. So look, on your sheets here, you should have a sheet that literally has one of these kind of boxes. Can I just check, how are we doing on time, by the way? We might be kind of, what's the? 10 to 5. Actually, we're probably a little bit close. So I'm going to start to wrap it up. But normally what we would do is we'd actually get you guys to... Do you remember earlier on, I said, think about that group of people that, when you were lined up here, who demonstrate some of those more inward behaviours. And literally what we do is we get you to write one out. And sometimes when we do these with organisations or with teams, they start to see immense collusions that they've got with other parts of the business, with sometimes hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds worth of cost, because they've got themselves into an inward mindset. By the way, if we just have a look at this between me and Matthew, imagining we're all in the box, we're kind of in these boxes with each other. Some interesting question here. Who's the problem if we're both in the box with each other? Both of us. But if we're in the boxes of self-deception, who do we think is the problem? The other, okay, right. So who's going to change? Nobody. So how long is this going to go on for? For a long time. Have you ever seen it where there are teams working in each other and like it's not got to mediation, but the way they work together is really clunky? It's not really effective, it's not really kind of efficient. So huge kind of costs that can kind of come from this. So just very quickly taking a look at the outward mindset pattern, and we're going to kind of finish up today, is if these inside triangles, they represent our work towards our manager, our work towards our customers, our work towards direct reports and peers. And I'd like to share one very quick example and we kind of wrap up for the day. We were working with a big oil company, and I'll come on to this in a second, a big oil company, and one of the guys on the course was the credit control director. And his key objective that year was to keep debts below 2%, bad debts. Fair enough? It's a fair thing to go after. Who do you think gets impacted by a load of credit control guys who are desperately not trying to get bad debts? Who might get impacted by that? Sales. And the sales director was like doing his nut, because every time they were doing deals, the credit control guys would go, oh no, you can't sell to that African company. Their credit controllers, their credit's terrible. And the guy came on this, on the workshop, and eventually it really clicked for him here. So the sales director is one of his peers, but currently, as you can imagine, the relationship with sales director was pretty poor. And then he really started to think, so if this is the sales director's challenges, his objectives, and he started to really realize that just what a problem his people were for sales. So he went and met the sales director and said, I get it. I understand now just how big a problem we are for you. How do you think the sales guy, what do you think the sales guy said back? Like, no shit, Sherlock, kind of. Right, of course you are. Now, if you take a look here, he's impacting sales. How much responsibility was his team taking for the impact? The credit control team. No, zero. It was taking no impact, leading to a very difficult relationship. Took a couple of meetings, and then eventually he built the relationship with the sales director, and this is what they came up with. If that's the outside triangle of this guy, reducing his stuff by 2%, the other outside triangle of the sales guy is to increase sales. And they finally went, maybe our combined objective is to increase safe selling. The credit control guys started working much closer with the sales guys. On deals that could never happen, the sales guys could get out of them early and focus on other things. The sales guys started coming back and sharing when they thought the customer account was looking a bit ropey. What happened to sales? Went up. What happened to bad debts? Went down. How many of your executive people and your senior leaders have a list of objectives and actually they have no idea what the impact of those objectives are on other people? And by the way, how many of them, if they are causing an impact, are actually trying to take responsibility for that impact? Now again, imagine, sorry, what's your name? Sorry? Corinne. Corinne, imagine you're a leader and I'm a leader, and I have a new objective to achieve, and I come and see you, and I say, hey Corinne, I've got a feeling this objective is going to affect you this way. Would that be a good start? And then what if I went the next level further, and we actually say, well, what could we do to minimize that impact? And if it was horrific, what would it mean if actually we changed our objective somewhat so that it wasn't so harmful? Now, I don't know the organization you work in, you may be brilliant at this, but in most organizations I work with, not even that first conversation is happening particularly well. Yeah. So I'd like to leave it like this, and some things to think about. What would happen if a large percentage of your organization developed a mindset where they were actively interested in the success of others? What if every leader that you had really was focused on seeing the people that they led and other people as people? You know, I mentioned that guy Roger Mundy. You know, the people that we will climb mountains for, run through walls for. And I'll kind of leave you with this. I think almost everything that you want to try and achieve in your business or your organization is going to be improved by having stronger relationships. But I really feel that those stronger relationships are down to the kind of mindset. We work in an organization where everybody's so busy trying to do their own objectives, we're bumping into each other all over the place. But maybe with an outward mindset, we can start building stronger relationships and get stronger results. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.